Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be quickly giving you some tips for how I draw eyes in colour pencil. So this video isn't going to be a thorough tutorial, it's just me going to be giving you a quick few tips for things to look for when you're drawing eyes, because the original footage of this has kind of been lost. I think I deleted it, so I could only get it slowed down a certain amount that I used for the other video. So I'm just going to give you a few suggestions on how you can improve drawing realistic eyes. So the first thing to notice is that when you're drawing realistic eyes, the white of the eye isn't actually white. There's a lot of grey tones in it, and especially just below the top eyelid there's also a lot of dark greys and shadows cast onto the white of the eye and onto the iris. So it's important that you look at your reference photo and note the shadows, because those shadows will be more greyer tones, and then towards the centre of the white of the eye it will be more of those lighter greys and white tones. So this will help create a spherical look to the iris. The next thing to look out for is the fact that it also has some pinks into that white of the eye as well. So even though there's a lot of grey tones, towards the tear duct leading into the white of the eye, it can have some pinker tones, which are like the blood vessels, and I tend to do these in a burnt sienna and like pinkish sort of tones as well. One thing that helps make your drawings look really realistic is drawing the highlights. So when you're drawing the eye, it's very watery, so it reflects a lot of the light from the surroundings. So you might have some more subtle highlights, and then you might have some really bright highlights. So I tend to do subtle highlights using the white colour pencil, and then sharp highlights I do with the white gel pen. And it's important that when you're drawing the highlights you look at the curve of the eyeball, because it's a curved three-dimensional object. It will have some curve to it, so don't draw your highlights straight, add a bit of roundness to them as well. So when you're drawing the tear duct, they tend to have a lot of pink tones in them as well, so the same tones that you'd use for the bit of the white of the eye, they tend to have some burnt siennas in them, and that's what I use to do the tear duct and also the waterline. So the tear duct does have highlights in it as well, and sometimes it does have ones that look a bit more shiny because it's like reflecting the wet surface of the tear duct, and for them I tend to do them in white gel pen to get more of a whiter vibrant line. So the colours that I'd use for the tear duct are the same sort of colours that I'd use for the waterline, and so I'd use a lot of burnt siennas and pinker tones. And a lot of people tend to just forget the waterline is there and draw the eyelashes coming straight from the bottom of the white of the eye. And it's very important that you make sure that you draw in that waterline, and it tends to have that fleshy tones, and towards the edges, so the outer corners of the waterline, it tends to be more shadows. So make sure you look at your reference photos so you get that correct. So the eyelashes tend to grow out from the bottom of the waterline, and it's also really important that you draw the eyelashes going in the correct direction. So eyelashes tend to have a lot of curve to them, so they kind of curve downwards, or the top ones curve up and out. So also the thing to notice is the thickness of the eyelashes. So on the top lash line the eyelashes are thicker towards the outer edge, and there's a lot more of them, and then as you go towards the inner corner of the eye they tend to get thinner and they tend to become a lot sparser. Also the eyelashes on the top lid are also a lot fuller, and there's a lot more of them than the eyelashes on the bottom lid, so make sure you look at those subtle details when you're drawing your eye, because it will help to make it look a lot more realistic. Okay, so now I'm going to just give you some tips on drawing the actual iris itself. So I tend to use black for the pupil, and sometimes I glaze over with an indigo blue to add a bit of depth to that pupil, so it's not just a flat black colour. Also it's important to note the shadows that happen along the iris. So it tends to be that the outer ring of the iris is a lot darker, and as you go in towards the centre of the iris it gets a lot lighter. So when I'm drawing a blue eye I'd want to use the darker greys and the blue tones for the outer rim of the iris, and then some really light cold greys and maybe a bit of blue to make it pop on the inner corner of the iris for those highlights. And then I'd use the white pencil to add some highlights to the inner part of the iris. So you can see on that left eye, so just below the pupil on the bottom right corner, I added a bit of white pencil to get a bit of more highlight, so this helps add a bit more depth to the iris. So I start the lines at the outer edge of the pupil, and then I gently fan them out to the edge of the iris. And when you blend this out you've still got those lines there which help add detail and make it look more realistic, because if you look at the flecks in your eyes it tends to be that they kind of fan out from the pupil as lines and go towards the edge. So the main pieces of advice that I want you to take from this video are: one, that when you're drawing the white of the eye, use a lot of grey tones, especially for the shadows. That tip 2 is that when you're drawing the tear duct and the waterline, make sure you look out for those highlights to make it look more watery, and also so that you ease those flesh tones into the white of the eye. Thirdly, look more in detail at the curvature of the eyelashes and also how their thickness and volume changes throughout the top and bottom lash line. And then lastly, look at where the shadows are on the iris and how those highlights curve round on the iris as well. Anyway guys, that's it for this video. I hope you all found it really useful. I hope you all have an absolutely amazing Christmas, and I will see you in my next video, which is one that I'm really excited about. It's going to be my subscriber giveaway, and it's going to be my first subscriber giveaway. So if you are new to my channel, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out on seeing that and possibly having a chance to win. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon.